I was up for partner at my law firm. Then HR called me in. Do you know someone named Carol? My neighbor. They showed me a packet she mailed in. 47 pages. Screenshots of our backyard. Comments from my social media. He talks about clients at home, he lets his kids curse, he drinks during lunch meetings. All out of context. All wildly fabricated. She'd sent it to every executive with a cover letter. Please reconsider who you elevate. I'm Doug. I live in Brookfield, Wisconsin. It's a quiet suburb outside Milwaukee, tree-lined streets, good schools, not much drama. That's what I used to think. I've lived here for 12 years with my wife Rachel and our 2 kids. It's a good neighborhood. Not flashy, but stable. The kind where people wave when they drive by. Where the mailman still knows your name. I'm a lawyer. A litigator. I've been with the same firm in Milwaukee for almost 15 years. I've sacrificed a lot to get here. Missed birthdays. Late nights. Even worked through a couple of holidays. But I did it because I had one goal, making partner. This year, I was finally up. My numbers were strong. I'd brought in some serious clients. Billables were through the roof. I'd been mentoring new associates and serving on committees. I wasn't just doing the work, I was making myself valuable. The other partners had been dropping hints. Inviting me to client dinners. Including me in closed-door meetings. I was told to keep the weekend of our firm retreat open. There might be something to celebrate. That all changed on a Wednesday morning in early May. I got an email from HR. One sentence. Can you come to the 12th floor at 10:15? Bring your phone. Didn't think much of it. Maybe a client complaint. Or something about compliance. We get that stuff all the time. But when I walked into the room, everything felt wrong. 3 people were waiting. Our head of HR, the firm's general counsel, and the managing partner. Nobody smiled. There was a thick packet on the table in front of them. Spiral-bound. About an inch thick. Doug, HR started. This was mailed to every executive in the firm. They pushed the packet toward me. I saw the top page. A cover letter. Typed. Signed Carol Finney. I blinked. Carol? From 2 doors down? I flipped the page. What I saw stopped me cold. Page after page of screenshots. Photos. Social media comments. Notes. Some typed, some written by hand. One section was labeled Client Privacy Violations. It had pictures of me in my backyard, grilling, circled with notes like, he discussed a case involving a minor, confidentiality breach. Another section had comments from my Facebook page going back years, taken wildly out of context. There was even one from my kid's birthday party 3 years ago. Happy to be done with depositions, time for beers. With a note beside it. Drinks during work hours? Another page was titled, Questionable Parenting. She'd written, children use profanity frequently. Sets per example. It kept going. 47 pages. She says you're a risk. HR said quietly. She said promoting you would show the firm doesn't take professionalism seriously. They all looked at me like I had something to confess. I wanted to laugh, but I couldn't even speak. She sent this to every member of the partnership committee. The managing partner added. My chest got tight. Carol. My neighbor. The woman we shoveled snow for last winter. The one who brought us zucchini bread the week after my wife's surgery. She waved at us almost every day. And now she was trying to kill my career. I finally said. I don't even talk to her. I've never said anything confidential outside the office. We're not accusing you of anything. HR said. But this raises questions. By the next morning, everything felt different. A few partners I was friendly with suddenly got cold. Some of the younger associates kept their distance. I got a calendar cancellation for the partnership track meeting. Postponed. No one said it out loud, but I knew what was happening. Carol had gotten to them. That weekend I sat on the back patio, going through every page of her packet again. Rachel sat beside me. She was furious. This is deranged, she said. She made it sound like we're running a frat house. Who does this? I stared at the picture of me raking leaves in our yard with a note scribbled beside it. Talking loudly on the phone. Possible client names mentioned? That's when I knew. She didn't misunderstand. She lied. And she did it on purpose. The next day, I walked over to her house. She was outside pruning her rose bushes. I said, Carol, why did you send that to my job? She didn't even flinch. Just said, you're not the person people think you are. What are you talking about? You yell. You let your kids run wild. You drink. You blab about your work like it's no big deal. That's not true, I said. I hear you. Every day. Every night. I haven't done anything wrong. You made all of it sound worse on purpose. She looked up dead in the eyes. I did what I thought was necessary. If they listened, maybe they had doubts already. Then she turned and walked inside. I stood there for a full minute stunned. She wasn't confused. She wasn't trying to help anyone. She was trying to ruin me. That's when something shifted in me. I don't know how to explain it exactly. But I felt cold. Focused. Like I was back in court with someone on the stand lying through their teeth. Except this time, the case was my life. And Carol had just made herself the opposing party. I started collecting evidence the next day. I wasn't going to knock on doors and stir up gossip. That's not how I work. I needed facts. Proof. Things that would hold up. Not just in a courtroom, but in a court of public opinion if it came to that. First, I checked my own security system. We've had a Ring doorbell and 2 side yard cameras since 2020. I pulled the footage from the past few months, looking for anything that matched the dates she claimed I was screaming about client details in the backyard. Most of the videos were boring, me talking to Rachel, kids kicking a soccer ball, grilling burgers. Normal stuff. But I noticed something strange. In a few of the clips, there was a blinking red light across our fence line. Up high. A small light, almost like from a trail camera. I walked around the side of her house that evening and looked closer. Sure enough, hidden inside a birdhouse facing my yard was a motion-activated camera. She wasn't just listening from her window. She was recording us. That changed everything. In Wisconsin, you can't set up surveillance aimed at someone's private property without consent. Especially not a hidden camera with a zoom lens. I took photos. I got footage of the light blinking. I documented everything. Then I started digging into her. Rachel and I split the work. I handled legal records and anything public. Rachel got friendly with a few neighbors. It turns out, Carol had a pattern. She'd filed complaints with the HOA about at least 5 different families on our street over the years. Everything from too many guests to inappropriate decorations at Christmas. She once tried to report a kid's lemonade stand for not having a permit. She also sued a nearby daycare 2 years ago, claiming noise pollution. It got thrown out. What I found next nearly made me drop my phone. In 2019, she tried to get a teacher at the local high school fired. Claimed he was too familiar with female students. Same method. Letters. Emails. She even had a folder full of social media screenshots. It never stuck, but the guy took a leave of absence and eventually transferred. She didn't just go after me. She went after people she thought had power. Men in leadership. People with careers to lose. She'd done it before. And she was doing it again. I hired a private investigator. Not to stalk her. Just to confirm what I already suspected, and to dig deeper. He found something unexpected. Carol had been involved in a messy civil suit back in 2008. Her husband, Richard, died of a stroke. But before that, he had filed for divorce. The court records were sealed, but we found financial documents showing that he was moving money into a separate account, planning to leave her. There was also mention of a harassment complaint filed by one of his coworkers. She had allegedly shown up at his office and caused a scene. It never went to court, but it was noted in a company report. Something broke in her a long time ago. And now she fed off control. She didn't just want peace and quiet. She wanted dominance. Over the street. Over me. Meanwhile, my firm was still cold. I had meetings rescheduled, projects reassigned. One partner even told me, "You should let this blow over. It's not a good look to push back too hard." They didn't say it outright, but I was being quietly frozen out. That's when I made a choice. I started documenting everything. Not just what Carol had done, but how the firm was handling it. The emails. The missed meetings. The way they were backing off without cause. I wasn't going to sue my own firm, yet, but I needed leverage. I also drafted a cease and desist letter to Carol. I laid it out carefully, citing the surveillance law she was breaking, the defamation in her packet, and the emotional distress it had caused. Rachel hand-delivered it. Carol refused to take it. So we mailed it, certified. Then I filed a city complaint about her hidden camera. Took them exactly 2 weeks to show up and make her remove it. She looked stunned when they arrived. Like she thought she was untouchable. Then came the twist I didn't expect. One of the junior associates at my firm, Kevin, pulled me aside in the parking garage. He said, "You didn't hear this from me, but there's talk you're being passed over." I asked why. He hesitated, then said, Carol sent another letter. This one to one of the firm's top clients. A big account. I stared at him. What did she say? That you have a pattern of unstable behavior. That you're unfit for client-facing work. That was the moment the switch flipped again. Not only was she trying to destroy my career, she was trying to turn my clients against me. This wasn't just petty. It was war. And now I was ready to fight. A week after Kevin told me about the second letter, things escalated fast. I didn't want to believe it, but I confirmed it through a contact in our client services team. Carol had really sent a letter, not just to one client, but to 3. She used the same tone she used with my firm. Formal, polite, poison. She told them I was combative, prone to drinking during business hours, and known in the community for unstable behavior. She referenced eyewitnesses, who didn't exist, and warned them that I was the kind of person who eventually ends up on the news. One client had already asked to switch point of contact. Quietly. No explanation. Just done. Carol was now going after my reputation outside the firm. This was no longer just defamation. It was targeted interference. And I had every shred of it documented. So I hit back. I called in a favor from a friend at a mid-sized PR firm we sometimes use for crisis work. Told him what was happening. He didn't say much, just listened. 2 days later, a package showed up at Carol's door. It was from a community outreach group, doing a neighborhood survey. Totally harmless looking. Inside was a form asking for comments on safety, community values, and neighbor behavior. She filled it out. We know because we used a prepaid envelope that routed responses to my attorney. Carol's response was unhinged. She went on for 2 pages about me, saying I was a known manipulator, that I brought the wrong kind of people into the neighborhood, and that I screamed profanities at his children. She signed her name. This woman couldn't help herself. She thought she was racking up points with whoever would listen. She had no idea we were collecting evidence for a potential defamation suit. But then something strange happened. Rachel went to pick up our youngest from school. The teacher asked to speak with her privately. We had an anonymous concern come in through the district. The teacher said, someone reported that your children are exposed to violent and inappropriate behavior at home. Rachel just stared at her. It wasn't the school's fault. They were required to follow up. But it was clear what had happened. Carol had taken the war to our children. That night Rachel sat across from me at the kitchen table and said, I want her finished. I had been cautious. Strategic. But now, I was done being careful. She'd gone too far. I sent a formal notice of intent to sue. The grounds were clear: defamation, false light, interference with business relations, and harassment. I attached supporting evidence, copies of the package she sent my firm, her survey, response, the camera footage, everything. We sent it to her by mail, and I posted a redacted version online. I didn't use her name, but I told the full story. It blew up. People started DMing me. Not just from Brookfield, some were from the nearby suburb where she used to live. One woman wrote, she destroyed my cousin's career. Sent fake letters to his job saying he cheated on his wife with clients. It almost wrecked his marriage. Another, she stalked my sister for months because her dog barked too loud. Carol had a history. One that reached beyond our street. Then came the most unexpected twist yet. Rachel got a message from a man named Darren Finney. Carol's estranged stepson. He said, I think we should talk. They met at a coffee shop while I stayed with the kids. She came back an hour later with a stunned look on her face. You're not gonna believe this, she said. He told me everything. Turns out, Carol's late husband, Richard, had left behind a journal. Darren had gotten it after the funeral. Inside were entries about Carol's behavior, manipulation, lies, threats. Richard wrote about how he was planning to leave her. About how she harassed people at his office. About the real reason their marriage fell apart. And then came the kicker. She had pulled the same stunt on him, Darren, when he got engaged. Sent fake letters to his fiancé's employer. Said he was emotionally unstable. The engagement ended 2 months later. He gave us a scanned copy of the journal. That was the missing piece. Now it wasn't just my word against hers. We had a full history. Patterns. Names. A record. I brought everything to my lawyer. He looked through the files and said one sentence. She's in real trouble now. And she had no idea how bad it was about to get. The lawsuit was filed in June. We kept it quiet at first, didn't talk to press. I wanted it done right, no distractions, no drama. Just facts and law. But once it was filed, it became public record. And the story didn't stay quiet for long. A local legal blog picked it up first. Then a regional paper ran the headline: Lawyer sues neighbor for defamation after alleged smear campaign to derail promotion. That opened the floodgates. More people came forward, people who'd lived near Carol in the past, people she'd gone after. A former co-worker of her late husband even contacted my attorney and offered a sworn statement about Carol's behavior years ago, how she once called his wife pretending to be a mistress, just to stir things up. My lawyer compiled it all. Meanwhile, Carol's side fell apart. Her first attorney dropped her after reviewing the evidence. The second one tried to settle fast. That's when we knew she was scared. We didn't accept the first offer. Or the second. We wanted it all laid out. In front of a judge. On the record. While the case moved forward, my firm started backpedaling, fast. I was invited to a coffee meeting with the managing partner, who suddenly remembered how valuable I was to the team. He apologized, carefully, and told me the partnership vote was back on. We want to do what's right. I nodded, smiled, and said nothing. They voted me in 2 weeks later. I got the corner office and a formal welcome memo. But I already knew something they didn't. I was leaving. After I made partner, I waited until my contract lock-in expired. Then I submitted my notice. The managing partner tried to talk me out of it. I thought we moved past all that, he said. We didn't, I told him. You froze me out when I needed support. I won't forget that. I left with my head high and started my own firm 3 months later, with 2 major clients who followed me. And I made sure one thing was crystal clear in my mission statement: we defend reputations, inside and outside the courtroom. Back to Carol. By the time the court date came, her reputation was already in the dirt. People stopped talking to her. HOA removed her completely. Her gardening club cut her out. Even her church stopped letting her lead events. But she refused to settle. She sat there in court in a pale blue sweater, calm as ever. But the evidence crushed her. Every lie, every twist, every fake report, it was all broken apart by video, photos, statements. When we played the clip of her camera blinking from inside the birdhouse, she looked down for the first time. The judge was blunt. He called her behavior malicious, obsessive, and designed to ruin someone's life without cause. We won. She was ordered to pay damages for defamation, emotional distress, and interference with business relations. A total of $840,000. She appealed. She lost. She tried to sell her house to cover it. Problem was, we filed a lien the moment judgment hit. The house went into forced sale. The new owners gutted her garden. Ripped up the roses she loved so much. Rachel and I sat on the porch and watched them do it. I heard from Darren one last time. He sent a short message. Took her long enough to fall. Glad you had the guts to push. As for me? The lawsuit gave my new firm more exposure than I could have dreamed. We started getting calls from people in similar situations, quiet professionals, being harassed or slandered with no way to fight back. We built a whole division for them. I never wanted to be a public figure. But now I speak at law schools about personal reputation defense. People think it's about ego. It's not. It's about standing up when someone tries to poison the well you spent your life filling. Sometimes I walk past Carol's old house. The new owners have a dog. Kids. Laughter. One time, the new husband waved and said, "You're the lawyer guy, right?" I just smiled. "Yeah," I said. "That's me." He asked, "You ever meet the old lady who used to live here?" I paused for a second, then said, "Yeah. Once or twice." And then I kept walking. Because there's nothing left to say. Some people bury themselves. Carol just handed me the shovel.